My disclaimer. My videos don't necessarily promote one religion. My views and opinions aren't meant to change the minds, opinions, or beliefs of others. Watch with an open mind. Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use, for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, entertainment, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All rights and credit go directly to its rightful owners. No copyright infringement is intended. We continue to uncover the profound wisdom within the timeless scriptures. Take care, and God bless. Welcome everyone to our latest exploration into the biblical book of Daniel. Today, we're delving into the fascinating story of King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, found in Daniel 2:1-18. As we know, King Nebuchadnezzar was troubled by a dream that left him restless and deeply disturbed. He called on his magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, and astrologers to not only interpret the dream, but also to recount it without any prior knowledge. When they were unable to do so, the furious king ordered for all the wise men of Babylon to be executed. In the midst of this chaos, we find the young Daniel and his friends. Upon learning of the decree, Daniel sought an audience with the king, asking for time to interpret the dream. And with his friends by his side, Daniel turned to God for the wisdom and understanding that only he could provide. What follows is a remarkable display of faith, courage, and reliance on God. As we read through these verses, we witness Daniel and his friends turning to prayer, seeking God's mercy and insight in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. As we continue to unravel the story, we see how Daniel's faith and obedience ultimately led to the revelation and interpretation of the dream, thus saving the lives of the wise men of Babylon. It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of overwhelming challenges, God is always in control. When we turn to Him in faith and prayer, He is faithful to guide us and provide the wisdom we need. Verse 1, 2. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Cross references. Genesis 40. God gives Pharaoh a dream, and Joseph the interpretation to help protect Israel and vault Joseph into power. Jeremiah 27:5. It is I who by my great power and my outstretched arm have made the earth with the men and animals that are on the earth, and I give it to whomever it seems right to me. Verse by verse commentary 1. There is some difficulty with the date of this account. It is said to be in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. But presumably Daniel was already in Babylon for 3 years by this point. Daniel 1:5. How then could this happen in the second year? Here are a couple of possibilities. Perhaps though 3 years were appointed for the education of other youth, Daniel was such a quick learner that he graduated from this program before the 3 years were up. Another possibility is that this refers to the second year of Nebuchadnezzar's sole reign as king, while before this, he co-reigned with his father for some time. 2. Nebuchadnezzar had a restless night filled with dreams. In verse 1, the dreams come first, and after that, his spirit becomes unsettled, and he can't sleep. The mystery and the magnitude of the dream bothered him, It seemed evident to him that this dream was not just an ordinary dream. It was meant to convey a message to him, but he couldn't understand it. That curiosity drove him to reach out to experts who could help decipher the puzzle. Then the king commanded to call the magicians, and the astrologers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream, with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. 6. But if ye show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. They answered again and said, Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. And the king answered and said, I know of certainty that ye would gain the time, because ye see the thing is gone from me. 9. But if ye will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you, for ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof. 10. The Chaldeans answered before the king, and said, There is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things at any magician, or astrologer, or Chaldean. 11. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. Discussion questions? What kind of people did Nebuchadnezzar call in to tell him his dream and interpret it? Why wouldn't he tell them the content of his dream? What do you notice about Nebuchadnezzar and all these wise men from this passage? Do you think Nebuchadnezzar was right in his accusations about their motives? Were they correct in verses 10 to 12? What does this tell us about the wise men's ability as sorcerers, magicians, and false religious leaders? Why were they unable to tell him his dream? What does this tell us about the ability of these types of religious figures today? Nebuchadnezzar was brilliant. He knew the hearts of his supposed wise men and their political scheming. He wasn't in the dark about the corruption and deception. So why did he rely on these guys? Cross-references. Proverbs 19:12. A king's wrath is like the growling of a lion, but his favor is like dew on the grass. Proverbs 22. The terror of a king is like the growling of a lion. Whoever provokes him to anger forfeits his life. Isaiah 47:12-15. Stand fast in your enchantments and your many sorceries, with which you have labored from your youth. Perhaps you may be able to succeed. Perhaps you may inspire terror. You are wearied with your many counsels. Let them stand forth and save you, those who divide the heavens, who gaze at the stars, who at the new moons make known what shall come upon you. Behold, they are like stubble. The fire consumes them. They cannot deliver themselves from the power of the flame. No coal for warming oneself is this, no fire to sit before. Such to you are those with whom you have labored, who have done business with you from your youth. They wander about, each in his own direction. There is no one to save you. One. Nebuchadnezzar reached out to the experts for help. He did not understand the meaning of the dream, and that really bothered him. In desperation, he turned to the only source of help he could find. Nebuchadnezzar was familiar with their political maneuvering and knew their deception and trickery. From the text, it is clear that he did not trust them to give the correct interpretation. Instead, they would simply make up some vague story that sounded good and would be difficult to disprove. Reflect. Since he knew their deceit and inability to solve this puzzle, why did he still rely on them? Simply put, he had nowhere else to turn. He lived in a culture that was in the dark. False gods were worshipped in the form of idols. These were the religious leaders and wisest people in society. They were supposed to have the answers, yet they were blind leaders of the blind. On some level, the king knew that they were a farce and that what they were selling was a scam. But there seemed to be no other choices. These were the only people he could turn to, which is a sad state. Application. It is essential to turn to the right people for counsel. Society has so-called experts who people tend to solicit help from, including psychologists, self-help gurus, authors, and all manner of counselors. Many also look to their parents, neighbors, or co-workers for advice. Proverbs 24:6. For by wise guidance you can wage your war, and in abundance of counselors there is victory. Counsel is easy to get, but we need to get it from the right source. Proverbs 13:20. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. If you ask an unbeliever for advice on a moral issue, know that it will come from a completely different worldview. The simple lesson for us is this: ask mature, godly believers for advice. Nebuchadnezzar knew how to deal with them. While he did look to them for aid out of necessity, he did not trust them. He refused to tell them the contents of the dream to test if what they were speaking was really true. The test was simple. If they could reveal to him what he dreamt, the interpretation would be trustworthy. Having that special knowledge would validate their interpretation of the dream. Any 10-year-old can come up with an interpretation for a dream, and a wise one would put its events far enough into the future that it couldn't be tested and proved wrong. 3. The wrath of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar had been infected with power and grown extraordinarily prideful and arrogant. As the highest person on earth, he expected others to do his bidding and do it immediately. It didn't matter how absurd the request was, he demanded people to do it. Also, as we see later in the book, he makes a lot of threats. He has power and intends to use it. These threats are not idle either. He will follow through because he is a man of fury and wrath. The king declared that if they were unable to reveal the contents of his dream, they would be torn from limb to limb and their houses laid ruins. Daniel 1:5. On the other hand, he was a nice guy. If they came through, there would be great personal reward. When the wise men told him that this was impossible, he was furious. Moving up the timetable, he ordered the execution not only of those present, but of the entire class of wise men throughout the city of Babylon. This was the kind of person that Daniel was under and served for so many years. Spending time in Nebuchadnezzar's court was like playing with fire. One mistake and you get burned. Many people were still willing to do it because of the potential reward. 4. The wise men and sorcerers were unable to provide any true assistance. They failed to solve this riddle because they had no real power, authority, or divine wisdom. Much like the Egyptian magicians in the time of Moses, they played the game well. Magic, tricks, deception, and counterfeit were their tools. Their religions were false, and they had no actual ability. Exodus 8:18-19. The magicians tried by their secret arts to produce gnats, but they could not. So there were gnats on man and beast. Then the magician said to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." When put up against the true miracles of God, such worldly experts are shown to be the frauds they are. Clever words and illusion are their game. It is a game they are good at, but it is still just a game. This is also true of many similar people today. Speaking smoothly and cheap tricks don't denote authority, but people often fall for them. Jesus warned us about false prophets like this who would seek to mislead even the elect if they could. Matthew 24:24. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. Most cultures have people something like the Babylonian wise men. For some, it is the medicine man, witch doctor, and shaman. For others, it is fortune tellers. Still more rely on religious leaders of false religion. And in more developed countries, it is counselors holding PhDs. Application. Instead of turning to this kind of person who admittedly cannot solve the problem, we must turn to the one true living God. He is the one who enables ordinary and uneducated men like Peter and John to do supernatural miracles that no earthly man can achieve. And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. 15. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, "Why is the decree so hasty from the king?" Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. 16. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions. 18. That they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Discussion questions. What do you notice about Daniel's response when he hears about this? What do you notice about his relationship with Arioch? How does Daniel try to find out the dream? Give some specific ways we can apply what we learn from Daniel here to our lives today. Cross-references, Ecclesiastes 9:17-18. The words of the wise heard in quiet are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Psalms 50:15. And call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Jeremiah 33:3. Call to me, and I will answer you, and will tell you great and hidden things that you have not known. Daniel replied with prudence and discretion. Throughout the whole process, we can see he was calm and careful. He was never hasty and didn't act rashly. He didn't lose his temper, panic, or get nervous. Instead, he remained cool, calm, and collected. Panicking or acting hastily is never helpful and will typically make the situation much worse. Application. Act, don't react. Rather than rashly reacting to the situation, Daniel took the initiative to understand it and find a solution. 2. He found out more information from Arioch. The first thing that Daniel did was ask a question: why is the decree of the king so urgent? He didn't just hear part of the story and then act. He asked and then listened so that he could understand the whole picture. Proverbs 18:13. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. Application. It is vital to get all the facts about a situation before jumping in to share your opinion or solution. Many arguments could be avoided by first asking simple, neutral questions. For example, if a husband comes home hours late, his wife might say, "You don't care about the nice meal I made. You are always late. You always put your work first." It would be much better first to ask a question, and not a loaded question such as, "Why are you home late again?" A better question would be, "Is everything okay?" Or, "Were you delayed?" Neutral, fact-finding questions can help you understand the whole story rather than acting based on assumptions that may turn out to be false. 3. Daniel already had a good relationship with Arioch. His character had earned Arioch's respect over a period of time. This left him in a position to be able to help. 4. He once again asked permission for his plan. He graciously requested the king for more time, and he must have first asked Arioch to allow him an audience with the king. Daniel sought to do the will of God, but he did so under the authority God had placed over him. He was not a lone ranger going off half-cocked. 5. Daniel called in his friends to pray together with him. Once again, he was not a lone ranger. Daniel was not prideful. He wasn't using this situation to seek after his glory and get all the credit for himself. Neither did he place confidence in his powers. Instead, he surrounded himself with a team, sharing with them the details of the situation. They, in turn, could help him share the load, and Daniel specifically asked them to seek mercy from the God of heaven. Daniel 2:18, so that they would not be destroyed. It was an emergency prayer meeting, and Daniel wanted all hands on deck. Application. There is strength in numbers, and no matter how wise or intelligent we are, we need other believers for encouragement, counsel, and support as we seek the Lord together. When you face a difficult situation, remember that you are not alone. Go to your brothers and sisters in Christ. Share with them about your struggles. Ask them to lift up their voices with you so that together you can seek mercy from the Lord. Many times our difficulties are compounded because we try to face them alone. God has made us part of a larger spiritual family. Let us be quick to support others and equally willing to ask for help. 6. He sought the Lord. Daniel did not only seek help from his friends, more importantly, he sought help from the Lord. No matter how wise or smart we are, if we try to do things on our own, we will fail. We must seek the Lord first because only He gives true success. We encourage you to dive deeper into the story of King Nebuchadnezzar's dream and draw inspiration from Daniel's unwavering faith. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to exploring more biblical stories with you in the future. God bless.